Nick Sirianni is now a Super Bowl champion. Nick Sirianni has now accomplished something that Kyle Shanahan has failed to accomplish in 3 tries and may never accomplish. And the question is, why? Is Nick Sirianni really a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan? And I think the answer is obviously yes. But the bigger question is, what does a head coach really do? Because with a coordinator, a play caller, you can see their impact on the game from snap to snap. He called this play. With Sirianni, you can say, what does he do? He's not calling plays. He's giving press conferences. He's setting the schedule. Is he a glorified secretary? Is he a glorified cheerleader? I mean, you could say all those things, and a lot of that's true. But one thing the reason why Nick Sirianni is a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan is because Nick Sirianni plays his position. Nick Sirianni gets out of the way. That's the most important thing he does. Kyle Shanahan is involved in everything. Defense, offense, play calling. Everything has to go through him. Every decision, every personnel decision, every schematic decision goes through him. He's not just a head coach. He's a head coach plus general manager plus play caller plus coordinator. He's a control freak. He has no leadership ability and he has no emotional capacity. He has a scheme that he forces on the team, and he brings in players who fit the scheme. He doesn't bring the best players into the team. He doesn't play the best players. So the best thing Nick Sirianni does is get out of the way. Would Kyle Shanahan have won a Super Bowl with this Eagles team this year? No. He would have messed it up. He would have had them running the wrong offense because it's his scheme and he thinks it's better, even though it doesn't fit the personnel. He would have overthought some key moment in the game. We've seen him against Andy Reid. We've seen him against Steve Spagnuolo. He has no clue against Steve Spagnuolo. He's a scheme. He's a scheme coach. Sirianni, he's not a scheme coach. He's had 3 different coordinators. I'm not even saying he's a good I don't really know what he does. If he didn't have Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio, would he be good? I don't know. But he does have them. And if you have Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio, who are clearly like the MVPs of that organization, who do you want to be the head coach? Like, I don't think you want Fangio to be the head coach at this point in his career, at his age. I don't think you want. I mean, he's never even shown that he can do it. Sirianni has a little bit more energy. He's younger. Who would get out of the way better than him while actually having a pulse on the sideline? It works. And I think it's interesting that we're starting to see you don't have to have an offensive play caller who's 35 or 40 or 45 or 45 but wishes he's 22 as the head coach. You can actually have a CEO, chairman of the board type who, I'm going to use a big word here. Starts with a D. It's delegates. It's okay to delegate. It's what head coaches, that's kind of what they're supposed to do. And if you can't delegate, that means you're a control freak and you'll ultimately limit the potential of your team. He lets Vic Fangio be Vic Fangio. Kyle didn't want Vic Fangio. He said, you could come here if you work with Chris Kasarik. I mean, I don't even know the Eagles well enough to tell you if Nick Sirianni hired Vic Fangio or Howie Roseman did, but the organizational structure is so much better in Philly. Everything about that team is so much better. Brian Berquist says Niners better take notice. Super Bowls are one of the trenches. True. It's Nick for real. Now I wonder if it's really Nick for real. Because if he says it's Nick for real, I'm thinking it might not be Nick. How the game played out, Kyle needs to be fired. You think the Niners should fire Kyle tomorrow just because of how this game played out? I feel that. Sirianni won before offensive genius, says El Cortez. Anoop says, please get me CEO coach, #1 priority. I think what's tough about the Niners is like they have this, the Bill Walsh, Joe Montana history. So fans, maybe the organization is always looking for like the next Bill Walsh, the next Joe Montana. Those were outliers. And that was 40 years ago. Maybe you should just look for like the next, I don't know, good coach, whoever that is. Good call, Noob. Donalucci 650 says, I watch your channel because I live in the Bay as an Eagles fan. I like keeping my enemies close. It was nice having the Bay cheer for the Eagles. I think the whole world was. Dustin Dagg says, remember when Shanahan turned down Fangio? I do. Shady Luke, resident Eagles fan, says, I remember a year ago, somebody on here, Hurts getting a Super Bowl before Brock and laugh my ass off. Did I laugh? Oh, I'm sorry. Doubt Brock could throw a deep ball like that. Let's talk about it. Thank you.